had to own every ounce of my suffering. Every scar, every lesson learned the hard way. No one tells me what I can or can't say about my own life. That's why I self-published. That's why I did it my way. And that's why my book is so powerful. It's not just a story. It's a testament. Own your pain, own your journey, and tell the world to go fuck itself if they try to stop you. Back in the day, yeah, I was part of the ultra community doing my thing, but then I went dark. Like full on ghost mode. Around 2009, 2010, maybe even into 2013, I disappeared. People were checking my site, my blog, wondering where the fuck is Goggins? But I was gone, man. Why? Because I was out there grinding. That was the recruiting era. The Navy SEALs needed more black men in the teams, and I was one of the few they had. I'd already done Badwater, so they thought we can use this guy. I hit the road, started recruiting, trying to move that 1% of African Americans in the SEALs to maybe 2%. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't flashy. It was just me telling my story, putting in the reps, and figuring out how to fucking deliver it in a way that hit people right in the gut. But here's the thing. I'm not some social media junkie. Even back then, pulling away from all that online noise, that was a relief. Even today, I hate that shit. I'm an introvert, man. I get my strength from being alone, from going deep into my own mind and all this public facing stuff. It's hard as hell for me. But yeah, it's funny, right? Because people look at me now with my 600,000 followers or whatever on Instagram, and they think, oh, he's got this huge platform. But I barely post. I don't advertise. I don't give a fuck about being an influencer. I do it because it matters. See, for a long time, I was ashamed of my story. I didn't want anyone to know the shit I'd been through. That's why I created two versions of myself. David Goggins and just Goggins. I didn't want people to see the broken, insecure kid inside. But over time, I realized, man, these people don't know shit about me. They're calling me superhuman, saying I'm amazing, but they don't know the pain, the failures, the darkness I've lived through. So I made a decision. I had to show people the truth. Because there are so many out there struggling in silence, just like I did. They see the rock hard motherfucker I am now, but they need to know where I came from. They need to see the cracks, the shit I climbed out of, and how I got here. That's why I share my story. Not because I want the attention, but because I want people to know, if I can come from that, so can you. It's not about the highlight reel. It's about the fucking grind. Everything I do, I go all in. No half-assing, no bullshit. And when it came to sharing my story, I wanted to be real. I'm talking so fucking real, it made me uncomfortable. There were moments I wrote something, handed it to Adam, and thought, do I really want people to know this shit about me? I'd talk to my fiance and be like, man, this is fucking embarrassing. But that's where the power is. That's the strength. To be that vulnerable. That's how you connect with people on a level that hits them in the soul. See, when people hear about Badwater or Buds or any of the crazy shit I've done, they think I can't relate to this guy. But when I open up and share the stuff that made me feel weak, ashamed, and broken, that's the real shit. That's what makes them see I'm human. People used to think I wasn't human. They thought I dropped down from some alien spacecraft. Like Goggins was carved out of the fucking earth itself. Nah, man, I went through the same hell as anyone else. Maybe worse. That's why I said I'm going to let you in on a secret. I'm just a regular dude who decided to stop making excuses and start owning my shit. That's the truth. That's the story. Writing this book was the hardest fucking thing I've ever done. And coming from someone who's done a shitload of hard stuff, that's saying something. Why? Why? Because I had to look in the mirror and face my true self. I'd spent so much time building this version of me, this Goggins, that I could just live as that guy. It was easier to stay in that lane. But writing this book forced me to go back to where it all started, to face the scraps I came from. You asked if there's a division between the guy I was and the guy I became. Hell yes, there's a division. I talk about myself in the third person because I'm still blown away by what the fuck I've created. It's not ego. It's awe. I know where I started. I was nothing. No skills, no training. I wasn't a mechanic. I wasn't a carpenter. I didn't know how to build anything, let alone rebuild myself. Life didn't hand me a blueprint. It handed me a blood trail. I started with scraps, broken pieces, failure after failure. The first version of Goggins, fucked up. But I kept going. Pain and suffering became my teachers. Each time I fucked up, I learned. Each time I got knocked down, I rebuilt. Over time, I took that scrap metal and turned it into something I didn't even recognize. A powerful machine built from nothing. I look at Goggins now and I think, how the fuck did I pull this off? The answer is simple. I failed. A lot. Building this version of myself wasn't about having the right tools. It was about finding those tools through the process. Pain, struggle, humiliation. I spent years in life's Home Depot piecing together what I needed. Vulnerability. That was the ultimate tool. People think vulnerability is weakness, but that's some bullshit. If you want to be hard, if you want to be strong, you got to be vulnerable. Vulnerability and open-mindedness. Those are the real keys to strength. It's not about acting tough. It's about being raw, honest, and open to learning, even when it breaks you. That's where real toughness is born. That's how you take the scraps life gives you and build something unstoppable. The one thing that made me who the fuck I am today is being vulnerable. Breaking myself all the way down to rock bottom. I had to face myself, no bullshit, no excuses. I looked myself dead in the eyes and said, you're fucked up. I admitted I had character problems. I lied. I cheated. I was insecure. I wasn't the real me. I'd done shit just to get people's acceptance. That was me, raw and unfiltered. Here's the thing. People judge so damn fast. They see what you've done, but they don't stop to ask why. They don't trace it back to where it all started. Life created this broken ass person I used to be. Life broke me, twisted me, and made me that way. But you know what? That's okay. It wasn't all my fault. What is my responsibility now is to go back, face that shit, and fix it. No one's coming to save you. No one's throwing you a lifeline. You've got to have the guts to go back to where it all began, where you got broken, and start working on yourself. It's ugly, it's brutal, but it's the only way. I had to own up to the fact that I was messed up and stop lying to myself. You can't fix shit if you're not honest about where you're at. And let me tell you something else. As you're clawing your way out of that hole, the people still stuck down there, they're going to grab at your heels. They'll try to pull you back down. Why? Because your progress makes them feel like shit. They'll remind you of who you used to be, try to drag you back into that darkness. Who the fuck do you think you are climbing out of this? That's their mentality, and it never stops. I grew up in a small town mindset, a place where people don't want to leave, don't want to change. That shit traps you. It closes your mind, makes you think the world is small and limited. To break out, you need to open your mind to create space and see the world. Racism, ignorance, all that bullshit is born from closed minds. You can't judge life if you've only seen one tiny piece of it. When I go back to where I came from, I don't carry hate. That's part of growth too. You can't hold on to hate and expect to climb out of hell. When you're stuck in that place, all you see is what's right in front of you. But when you step out, when you expand your world, you start to realize there's so much more out there. That's how you grow. That's how you evolve. And that's how you leave the old you behind. When I stepped out of that hell, I saw Brazil for what it really was. There were some damn good people there. Some of the best I've ever known. But when you're in the fire, all you see is the shit right in front of you. The kids calling you the N-word. The ones spray painting that same shit on your car, threatening to kill you. People putting it in your locker, scribbling it in your notebook during Spanish class. That's all I could see back then. I couldn't see the bigger picture. I couldn't see that, yeah. There were people who fucking liked me there, people who had my back. But when you step back, when you pull yourself out of that mess, you start to see it for what it really is. A small group of ignorant assholes running their mouths trying to tear you down. That's when you grow. That's when you realize it wasn't the whole damn country, the whole damn town. It was just a few loud, hateful people. But when you're stuck in it, all that pain blinds you. Man, I remember that phase I went through. I talk about it in the book. I was all about black and only black. Junior year of high school, college. I was so beat down I couldn't see straight. I was the most ignorant motherfucker I've ever been. All I could do was take all that hurt, all that pain, and shove it through one filter. Find people who look like me, act like me, think like me. Maybe then I'll feel accepted. Yeah, that was the time with the crazy haircuts, watching Malcolm X every damn night at home, trying to find some kind of answer. But looking back now, I see it for what it was, a desperate attempt to make sense of the bullshit. Now, man, let me tell you, I was on a fast track to fucking nowhere. My life was a train wreck and I didn't see any way out. But then something shifted. A glimmer of hope. It all started with this obsession I had with the military, and then this Air Force badass, Scott Guerin, came into my life. That dude, he changed everything. This guy was the real deal. He survived a parachuting accident that should have killed him 10 times over. A dude crashed into his parachute midair, and he plummeted 13,000 feet at 120 miles per hour. Slammed into the ground like a damn meteor. There's a picture of him in my book. It's fucking brutal. But here's the crazy part. This guy survived. A couple of years later, I met him at this Civil Air Patrol camp. I was this lost, weak-ass kid sitting there watching this dude walk in. And let me tell you, he was like something out of a fucking movie. I was obsessed with Rocky and Rambo growing up, but this guy, he was the real Rambo. He had scars everywhere. They had to cut his throat open to save his life, so he had this hardcore track scar, and he talked all raspy like Clint Eastwood. He got up there, shared his story, and it wasn't some bullshit motivational speech. It was raw, gritty, and real. And then, for the rest of the camp, he was out there doing push-ups and flutter kicks like nothing had ever happened. I couldn't take my eyes off him. That was the kind of strength I'd been looking for my whole life. See, I'd been searching for strength, for courage, for something to hold on to, because I didn't have shit. My dad beat the absolute fuck out of me as a kid. Stripped away every ounce of confidence and courage I might have had. I wanted to protect my mom, but every time I stood up, he beat me down even harder. That shit broke me. It made me weak, scared. And I hated it. Every man wants strength. Every man wants courage. At least this one does. And when I saw Scott Guerin, I thought, that's the guy. That's who I need to learn from. He didn't know what I was dealing with, but something about him clicked with me. So after that camp, I couldn't get him out of my head. I left school, had no money, and we were living in this $7 a month government subsidized shithole. But I didn't care. I ran up a $500 phone bill when we didn't have shit for money, trying to track this guy down. My mom was ready to kill me, but I didn't stop. This was before Google. So I was just randomly calling Air Force bases asking, do you know Scott Guerin? He's a pararescue guy. Half the time they'd hang up on me or think I was nuts. But I didn't care. I was on a mission to find him because I needed what he had. Strength, courage, grit. That's what I was chasing. And I wasn't going to stop until I figured out how to get it. I started connecting the dots. All right, there's a PJ base here, a pararescue base there. I got fucking obsessed. I tracked these places down like my life depended on it. Because it did. Finally, I locked in on this guy in Key West, Florida. He was a scuba instructor down there. I leave some half-assed message not expecting shit. But this dude actually calls me back. Not only that, he goes out of his way to get a hold of my mom. I'm sitting there like, holy shit, this guy actually called me back. The first thing I ask him, hey man, can I come stay with you for a week? And he's like, who the fuck are you, kid? And you know what? That was fair as hell. He didn't owe me shit. But this dude was real as fuck. And he said, all right, come on down. That was it. I was a junior in high school, just hungry as hell, ready to learn, ready to grind. I packed my shit and went. When I got there, it was straight up no frills. This guy barely said a word to me all week. Maybe 4 words total. We PT'd together, but that was it. He didn't waste time talking. He was a fucking instructor, a professional. During the day, he'd go teach at scuba school. And I'd sit my ass on the couch for 10 hours straight, just sitting there waiting. When he came back, we'd go for a run, eat fish every fucking day. We had to catch it ourselves out in the ocean. This guy would go lobster hunting. And even though I hated the water and was scared shitless of it, I went in. If he was going in, I was going in. When I left, I knew one thing for sure. That's what I want to be. I want to be a guy like that. I didn't have a strong male role model growing up, and I was looking hard for one. But it wasn't easy. Following this path to becoming a pararescue man was the hardest shit I'd ever done. There was so much I didn't know, and I didn't have a mentor. Scott was there for that week, but he had a family, a life. He was busy. I barely saw him again after that. So I was back on my own. I did the best I could, and I grinded like hell. It took me several tries to pass the ASVAB because I cheated my way through school and was stuck at a 4th grade reading level. I talk about this a lot in my book, but in 6 months, I had to teach myself everything. How to read, how to write. People think my work ethic came from running or SEAL training. Nope. It started right there at that fucking table, teaching myself how to learn. I had one tutor 1 hour a week. That's all we could afford. My mom was working 3 jobs, so I was on my own. I sat at that fucking table every day, grinding. I had to get into the military. That became mine. People look at the end result and think, wow, that's amazing. But they don't understand the hell I went through just to get the opportunity to succeed. I ruined relationships, burned bridges, and gave up everything. Why? Because I knew I had to become somebody in this world, or I wasn't good for anyone. Not myself, not anyone else. Man, the drive comes from a dark, disgusting place. A place where you're not fulfilled, where you're terrified of dying without having accomplished anything. That fear, that's the shit most people run from. But I didn't. I faced it. I had this overwhelming fear of living a life where all I did was pay bills, make a little money, and die forgotten. I was spraying for cockroaches, man, and if that's good enough for someone else, fine. But for me, fuck that. It wasn't good enough. For the first time in my life, after 24, 25, 26 years of being a nobody, I wanted to feel good about myself. And becoming a SEAL was my ticket. Here's the thing. I learned how to turn pain into my fuel. Most people out there, they let pain hold them back. They settle because the pain of their daily existence isn't quite bad enough to force them to change. They'd rather live in that comfortable misery than face the fear of the unknown. But me, I embraced the pain. I made pain my friend, my motivator, my fucking weapon. And that's what set me apart. You know, the one thing I've always had, my fucking superpower, is the ability to see the end before I even start. I'm talking about seeing the finish line clear as day before I take the first damn step. When I was staring down Bud, sitting at 300 fucking pounds, I didn't just see the fat dude I was. I saw myself walking across that stage at 191 pounds, getting that certificate, becoming a fucking SEAL. Every single day, I'd put myself in that moment, even when it felt impossible. I'd close my eyes and I'd see it. I'd feel it. That feeling of walking across the stage, knowing I'd done it, knowing I'd suffered through hell to earn it. That feeling was so damn powerful, it made the pain worth it. I'd sit there and think, fuck, this is gonna hurt. It's gonna be brutal. But when I get there, when I feel that joy for just a few seconds, it'll all be worth it. That's what got me out of bed every morning. That's what kept me going for those 18 fucking months, 18 months of grinding, suffering, and pushing myself past what most people even think is possible for just a few seconds of fucking joy. And people don't get that. They don't understand how I can endure so much pain for such a short payoff. But to me, it was everything. The key was visualization. And I don't mean just imagining some happy ending like a damn fairy tale. I mean seeing every step of the fucking process, the pain, the fucking obstacles, the grind. I visualized every mile of those 100-mile races, every freezing moment in cold water. I knew exactly how I'd feel at mile 50 at the halfway mark of Buds at every hurdle along the way. So when it happened, when the pain hit, I wasn't surprised. I'd already lived it 1,000 fucking times in my head. But it's not just about imagining the pain. You've also got to practice feeling the victory. You've got to live that moment of accomplishment over and over again so it becomes your driving force. That's what I did. That's why I could suffer through anything. Because I'd already tasted what it would feel like to win. If I put 100 fucking % into what's in front of me, I own that shit. I'll destroy it. But if I'm out here trying to multitask, trying to juggle a bunch of bullshit at once, I'm just half-assing my way through life. And half-assing, that's how you stay average. So for me, the most important thing in this world is locking in on the task at hand. No distractions, no bullshit. Just pure focus. But let's be real, it's harder than ever to stay focused. We've got distractions in our fucking pockets, man. These phones, these apps, these constant notifications, they make it so damn easy to check out. You never have to be bored anymore. You don't have to sit with yourself. You can scroll your way out of discomfort. But that shit comes at a cost. What scares me more than anything in this world is losing touch with the power of my own mind. Your mindset. That's the most powerful weapon you'll ever have. It's how you picture yourself, how you focus, how you drive yourself through impossible situations and come out the other side. No fucking phone, no app, no pair of headphones can do that for you. There've been so many moments in my life where none of that tech could save me. None of it. What saved me was me. Stripping everything down, facing my weaknesses, owning my failures, and building myself back up. That's what works. That's what will always work. Even now, if I'm out running, the new norm is crushing 200 fucking miles, no excuses, no shortcuts. Roger that. That's how you fucking roll. When I was in Buds, at some point, the instructors started noticing me. They could see I wasn't like the rest of the pack. Guys like SBG, some of the baddest motherfuckers in the SEAL teams, took notice. That started happening during my second hell week. I'll tell you straight up, I started to love that fucking pain. I wanted to see what the human mind could really do. When everyone else was breaking down, I found joy in the suffering. SBG, he's a fucking legend. One of the hardest dudes out there. And he's looking at me like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? That's when I knew I tapped into something most people never will. It was Wednesday night of Hell Week and shit was getting real. My knee was fucked, broken, shot to hell. But I didn't give a damn. I wasn't about to tap out. All the boat crews had passed the surf zone. And here I was standing there like, let's fucking go. It was raining, pitch black, and cold as hell. I'm not a big fan of the ocean. It's a motherfucker unforgiving as shit. But none of that mattered. I had this big ass life jacket on and SBG, that crazy motherfucker comes up to me. He's like, all right, follow me. We run a mile down to the boat cruise. And I'm thinking, all right, maybe we're just waiting for them to come back in. But no, this dude looks at me and says, hey man, get the fuck in the water and go get them. I'm like, are you fucking serious? No swim buddy, no backup, just me against the ocean in the middle of the night. And in Buds, they're always drilling it into you. Never swim alone. But this wasn't about rules. This was about breaking me. I knew exactly what SBG was doing. He wanted to see if I'd break. He wanted this to be the moment where I said, nah, I can't do this shit. But that's not who the fuck I am. I didn't complain. I didn't hesitate. I just said, all right, let's fucking go. I got my shit together and hit that cold ass water. It was pitch black, stars spinning in my vision from 80 hours of no sleep. The ocean was tossing me around like a rag doll, but I kept moving. This was my moment to show them what I was made of. Later, SBG told me something that stuck with me. He said, in all my years as a Buds instructor, you're one of the only people I've ever sent out like that. I didn't do it to break you. I did it because I knew you see it as a fucking challenge. And he was right. I didn't see it as punishment. I saw it as an opportunity. That's when I started realizing I was separating myself from the pack. This was the moment I began to understand what it means to take souls. It's about going places no one else is willing to go, showing them that you're on a whole other level. You take their confidence, their will to fight, and you make them realize they're dealing with something they can't touch. Taking souls is about showing up, doing the unthinkable, and leaving no doubt in their minds that you're the baddest motherfucker out there. Every single one of us has demons. Some people are just better at hiding their shit. And here's the real thing. Even the most alpha motherfuckers are fragile as hell. Their egos are brittle as fuck. They hate seeing someone harder than them, someone who doesn't break. That's when I learned ego is the ultimate weakness. You crack that, you've got them. It was Wednesday during Hell Week, cold as shit, and everyone's jackhammering. You know what jackhammering is? When you're so cold, you can't stop shivering. Your body's just losing it. The instructors love seeing that. They get off on watching you suffer. And yeah, in a twisted way, I get it. It's funny as hell to them because they've been there too. But I thought, what would piss them off? What would I hate to see if I were them? If I were an instructor, I'd hate to see some guy sitting there calm as fuck. Like this is just another day at the beach. That's what I did. I flipped the game on them. They were trying to break us. And I said, you know what? You can't break me, motherfucker. You can beat me down all day long. And I'll still be here smiling in your face. That's when I got my boat crew together. I had hardcore guys with me. Bill Brown, Chris Kyle. Yeah, the American Sniper. But even they were just trying to survive. Everyone's thinking, let's just get through this, man. Let's make it to Friday so we can graduate. Not me. I said, fuck that. We're going to start fucking with these guys. The evolution started like this. We're stripped down to nothing, standing there while the instructors check us out. Knees, joints, everything. My knee was fucked. Jacked up as hell. But they didn't give a shit. They pumped me full of shots and sent me back out. I was the boat crew leader of Boat Crew 2, and I was at the front of the boat. I turned to my guys and said, all right, here's what we're going to do. We had to lift these heavy-ass boats above our heads, but when you're weak, tired, and fragile as hell, that shit feels impossible. Most guys were barely holding on. Their arms shaking, boats slipping down onto their heads. Every crew looked like they were on the verge of collapse. And then I had a fucking thought. I turned around and told my crew, it's time to take some souls. They're looking at me like, what the fuck are you talking about? I said, look at those instructors. Standing there all smug, drinking coffee, laughing at us. I want to wipe those fucking smiles off their faces. I want them to feel what it's like to be dominated. Here's what we did. I told my crew, follow my lead. Trust me, you'll get energy from this. We started boat pressing, tossing that heavy ass boat up in the air, catching it, pressing it again. And not just pressing it. We were yelling our asses off while doing it. Everyone else is barely surviving, and here we are, looking like we're fucking thriving. The instructors had no clue what was happening. They made us stop confused as hell, like what the fuck is going on? I looked at their faces, and it was like someone had just ripped their souls out. They weren't laughing anymore. They weren't even smiling. They were thinking, how the fuck are these guys doing that? I don't think I could have done that. From that moment on, Boat Crew 2 owned Hell Week. We won every single race, dominated every challenge, and left no doubt in anyone's mind who the baddest crew was. That's what taking souls is all about. It's about flipping the script, showing up when everyone else is broken, and making them question their own shit. And yeah, part of that is learning to be a real leader. In a room full of alpha males and egos, it's not about outshining the next guy. It's about building something stronger than any single person. Camaraderie, unity, and the fucking will to dominate. That's how you take souls, and that's how you win. Let me tell you about Mr. Dobbs. He's still a good friend of mine, but back in the day, man, I saw that dude walk straight into the fire during Hell Week. I knew Sean real well, and I knew he was cocky as fuck. He had that chip on his shoulder, the kind that'll get you into trouble if you don't learn to control it. Trust me, I know. I've been there myself. That chip can either be your fuel or it can fuck you up. For Sean, it ended up costing him big time. Hell Week doesn't care how tough you think you are. It doesn't give a shit about your ego. That's the thing about hard shit. It exposes your insecurities, your weaknesses, the demons you didn't even know were there. And I knew Sean had never been truly challenged before. He was a superhuman, no doubt about it, but nothing had ever tested him like this. It was about 30 hours into Hell Week, and I could see it happening to him. We were standing in line getting our med checks, and I looked over at him. He didn't see me at first, but I knew that look. I had it myself back in pararescue school. That look when the shit gets so hard your mind can't even process it. You don't have the tools to fight back because you've never been in the trenches before. Before Hell Week started, I warned him. I said, don't underestimate this shit, man. It'll find you, and when it does, it'll fuck you up. He laughed it off, said, I can't ever see myself quitting Goggins. I just looked at him and said, watch out. The end is a long way away. And here we were, standing in that line. I saw it in his eyes. The quitting mind was waking up. I smiled at him and said, I told you, motherfucker, I told you. A little while later, a car pulls up. Next thing I know, Sean's in that car, rolling out. He rings the bell. He quits. Now, don't get it twisted. Sean's a great guy. Quitting doesn't make you less of a person. But here's the lesson. Hard shit will humble you. You can't go into life thinking nothing's going to get in your way. You've got to be ready for the obstacles, the demons, the moments when you feel like there's nothing left in the tank. Taking souls isn't about hurting anyone. It's about finding that tactical advantage in every situation to get you one step closer to your goal. Whatever the fuck that goal is for you. For me in Hell Week, it was about making it through with my head held high, strong as hell. But here's the thing. Most people get so wrapped up in how far away the finish line looks that they lose their grip. They get overwhelmed, they start slipping, and before they know it, they're off the cliff. Taking souls is how you grab another foothold when it feels like there's nothing left. It's how you find energy in a place where it shouldn't exist. It's not about destroying someone else. It's about showing them and yourself that you're willing to go further, dig deeper, and stay in the fight. That's how you get to the next moment, the next breath, the next wind. And trust me, the second wind always comes, if you're willing to hang on long enough to find it. For me, this mindset turned into something bigger. It wasn't just about surviving Hell Week. It became about being uncommon among the uncommon. I didn't want to just stand out among regular people. I wanted to be the hardest motherfucker in the room, no matter who else was there. Even in the SEALs, surrounded by some of the toughest humans on the planet, I was asking myself, what's next? How do I keep pushing harder? How do I make sure there's nobody out there who can match this drive? That's why I wanted to be a Navy SEAL in the first place. I needed people around me who would push me beyond my comfort zone every damn day. I thought that was the perfect platform for it. And in a way it was. Buds is brutal. And the stories you hear about what comes after. Even worse. For most people, Buds is the finish line. They get broken down so hard they never want to go through that shit again. But for me, that was just the starting point. That was where the real work began. I didn't see Buds as the end of the line. I saw it as the first step in a journey to owning my life. And that's when I started to realize something. These people I'd put on a pedestal, these so-called elite humans were just normal people. Yeah, they were tough as hell, but at the core, they weren't superhuman. And that's when it hit me. If they're just human, what the fuck is stopping me from being better than them? That's where the fucking hunger kicked in. I wanted more. More suffering, more growth, more challenges. It's a superpower, sure, but it's also your Achilles heel if you're not careful. That relentless drive can break you just as fast as it can build you. But for me, I'll take that risk every damn time. Man, one of the hardest fucking lessons I had to learn was realizing not everybody wants the same shit I do. I thought everybody wanted to wake up at 4 a.m., beat themselves into the ground, and find out who the fuck they really were. I thought that's what being a SEAL was all about. Hell, every book one read, every story I heard made it sound like that was the standard. Hook, line, and sinker. I bought into that shit. But then I got into it. And I started seeing it wasn't like that for everyone. Not everybody was about that life. And let me tell you, that shit left a bad taste in my mouth. I realized pretty quickly that I didn't fit in with the community the way I thought I would. So I did what I always do. I doubled down on my own shit. I started doing my own thing with a couple of guys, working out harder than anyone else and pushing myself to places most people wouldn't even dream of. But here's the truth. When you do that, when you separate yourself like that, you're going to rub people the wrong way. I was already different before I even started. I didn't drink, I didn't party, and I sure as hell wasn't about to go out and pretend to be part of some big fraternity. That's not me. Never has been. Even in college, I wouldn't have been caught dead in a fucking frat. I'm like, fuck you all. I've got my own shit to handle over here. Joining the SEAL teams felt like stepping into a big fraternity, and I was already the odd man out. I wasn't a dick about it. I just didn't fit. I wasn't hanging out. I wasn't doing the typical SEAL bro stuff, and I was okay with that. By the time I built my self-esteem, I didn't need people to like me anymore. But when you start pulling away and doing your own thing, it's easy for people to start talking. It's like a big soap opera. The rumor mill kicks in, and suddenly everyone's got an opinion about you. Then I had 2 heart surgeries, and people started saying I didn't want to deploy, that I was scared to fight. Fuck that. I wanted to be out there, but my body wasn't letting me. People didn't know the full story, but they talked anyway. That's life. It'd hurt my career. Maybe. But looking back, I wouldn't change a damn thing. I was who I wanted to be. My goal wasn't about climbing some ladder. It was about becoming the hardest motherfucker on the planet and working with the best. The heart surgery slowed me down, sure, but they gave me something else. A chance to examine myself and the people around me. I learned more about my own insecurities, and I saw how even the toughest guys out there had their own demons. Man, my military career was stellar. Period. Not many motherfuckers can say they pulled off what I did. Everywhere I went, I crushed it. Honor man this, honor man that. I made sure my name was etched into every fucking place I touched. Did I deploy as much as I wanted to? Hell no. I went to Iraq, yeah, but I wanted a lot more action. The heart surgeries took me out of training for 4 years, and that shit ate me. But when you stack up what I did, there aren't many who've done the same. And because just being a Navy SEAL wasn't enough for me, I decided to push the boundaries even further. I went to Army Ranger School. Yeah, I didn't just go. I went there and crushed it. I made damn sure I distinguished myself there too. Air Force Tactical Air Control Party, TACP, Navy SEAL buds, Army Ranger School, and then 2 attempts at Delta Force selection. That's fucking unheard of. Now about Delta selection. My first time I went as a Navy SEAL, which by the way is frowned upon because we've got our own Tier 1 unit, DevGru. After my second SEAL platoon, where me and my team couldn't get along, yeah, we had a badass deployment, but personalities don't always click. The rumor mill started running wild. Goggins is a badass, but he doesn't work well with others or some other bullshit like that. Whatever. I screened for DevGru and passed the initial screening process for Green Team, but I didn't get the orders to go. Fine. That's when I said, fuck it, time to try Delta Force. So I went. First time I got messed up. Fell down a damn mountain, broke my ankle, got tangled in some rocky hellhole. Then came the heart surgeries. But I wasn't done. I went back. This time I was killing it. I made it all the way to the last day. I was ready to crush the 40-miler, the big final beast of the selection process. That was my game, man. You put a ruck on my back, point me in a direction, and I'll hurt you with how hard I'll go. But here's where I fucked up. I got ahead of myself. I was 2 hours ahead of schedule, already thinking about crossing that finish line, being part of the most elite group out there. My mind drifted. I lost focus. And out there in the middle of Delta selection, it's all land navigation. You lose focus, you're done. I got lost. My map and compass were my lifelines, and I let my mind slip for just a second. Found myself wandering, trying to reorient, trying to get back on track. It was a humbling moment. I thought I had it in the bag, thought I was untouchable. That's the lesson right there. You lose focus for a second, and the world will smack you back down. When I was in Delta selection, and I was pushing hard. Damn hard. One day I look over at another student and ask, hey man, how many points we got left? He says 5. I'm like, oh hell no, we're way too close to the edge. Turns out there were 6 points, and I was 45 minutes from drop dead time. That's it. If you don't make it, you're done. But I made it by 1 damn minute. Let me tell you something. Every other day during that grind, I was 2 hours ahead of time. 2 fucking hours every damn day. But the thing about Delta is they don't tell you shit. You don't know the standard. You don't know what's good enough, and you sure as hell don't know if you're passing or failing. At the end, 2 vehicles show up. One takes you to another campsite, meaning you're still in the game. The other one, that one's the walk of shame. It takes you back to the barracks so you can pack your shit and get on a plane. Guess which vehicle I got into? That's right. The second one. Game over. Done. But here's the fucking truth. How many soldiers have gone through all of those programs? Air Force TACP, Navy SEAL buds, Army Ranger School, and 2 Delta Force selections. 0. I'm the only one. That's not me guessing. That's not me trying to puff up my chest. That's a fact. Nobody else has been insane enough to say, let me screen for Delta twice. Let me go to Ranger School as a Navy SEAL. Let me get my ass kicked repeatedly and keep coming back. You want to know how crazy I am? I had a teammate from my first platoon. Good dude, a real leader. And I still talk to him today. He understood me, and trust me, it takes a real man to understand David Goggins. He used to say, Goggins, you're the kind of guy who'd volunteer to be a PI just to see if you could survive it. And you know what? He wasn't wrong. When I put in my chit, my special request, to go to Ranger School as a new guy in the SEAL teams, people thought I'd lost my damn mind. Back then, SEALs weren't going to Ranger School unless it was as punishment. But me, I was begging for it. I wanted that smoke. I wanted another challenge that sucked so bad most people wouldn't even touch it. That's how I grow. By putting myself in the uncommon situations nobody else wants. Here's the thing about training. It's where you see who people really are. That's why I love it. Whether it's Buds, Ranger School, or Delta Selection, training is where the truth comes out. Most people, once they finish, they're like, thank God I'm done. Not me. I always wanted to go back to scratch, to push myself harder, to find out what the fuck I was made of all over again. That's the mentality that separates the common from the uncommon. Ranger School, man, they don't give a fuck who you are. You show up. And they strip you of everything. Your rank, your story, your ego. All gone. You're not a SEAL, not a captain, not shit. You're just a name, no more, no less. You could be a damn general, and they'd still call you Thomas. That's it. Before I got there, a couple of Navy SEALs had been sent as punishment, and some of them quit. Not because the shit was too hard, but because they were like, fuck this. I'm not here to get my ass kicked again after SEAL training. That kind of attitude gave SEALs a bad reputation at Ranger School. Then I show up. I wanted to be there. I begged to be there. I signed up to starve for 69 days, lose 56 pounds, and get my ass handed to me. But as soon as I walked in, they assumed I was just another fuck up set for punishment. Day 3, they're stripping rank and names. All I had was Goggins, and that's all they cared about. I was this black Navy guy sticking out like a sore thumb with my little Navy name tag and hat, trying to stay out of the spotlight. But there's no hiding there. They call you up to recite the Ranger Creed, and it's all eyes on you. You can't fake it. That's when the real shit starts. The dude goes up there and he just completely fucks it up. They're looking at him like, what the hell is this? Then they lock eyes on me like, yeah, we see that guy back there. Betty doesn't know this shit either. And I'm thinking, fuck, I've been grinding on this Ranger Creed for a damn year. Don't even test me. So I step up and I'm running that shit in my head, recognizing that I volunteered as a Ranger, fully knowing the hazards of my chosen profession. Boom, I nail it. I'm rattling off the whole fucking Ranger Creed, and the first sergeant's just staring like, what the fuck? Next thing I know, they've made me the damn first sergeant. And I'm thinking, AW, fuck, not only am I getting my ass kicked in one of the hardest leadership schools on the planet, but now I've got to be locked in 24/7. When we weren't out in the field getting graded, I was in garrison running Bravo Company. That's a whole platoon of dudes looking at me for direction, and there's no room for half-assing it. It was nonstop, man. Every day, all day, roger that, roger this. I was like, fuck, I guess I'm in charge now. But you know what? I never got fired. Most guys would get axed, but I stayed locked in. That's what got me the Honor Man Award. Staying dialed no matter what. Here's the thing, though. Some of those same guys throwing shade haven't done shit worth talking about. Not every SEAL has some crazy badass story to tell. For most of us, it's just grinding through missions, training, and doing the job. Writing a book doesn't have to be about glorifying yourself or telling wild war stories. For me, it's about making the reader the fucking hero of their own story. For anyone out there feeling alone, feeling like the world's out to get you, stuck in that victim mentality thinking, why me? Why can't I catch a break? Let me tell you something. The first step out of that shit is to face the real problem. And guess what? The real problem is you. Like I've said a million times, the most important conversation you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. That voice in your head is either building you up or tearing you the fuck down. You wake up with it, carry it around all day, and take it to bed at night. If that voice is telling you you're a failure, you're not good enough, you'll never make it, then guess what? That's what you'll believe, and that's what you'll act on. You've got to change that dialogue. You've got to shut that victim-ass voice the fuck up. Callous your mind. Stop blaming the world for your problems. Stop spinning that bullshit story about how life's unfair because you're the only black person, the only woman, the only broke person, the only whatever the fuck you think makes you special in your struggle. You're not that special. Yeah, but David, you don't understand my life. Bullshit. I do understand. I lived that same fucked up story. I told myself the same shit. Nobody gets me. Nobody knows what I'm going through. And you know what? As long as I kept that mentality, I stayed in the exact same shitty place. Here's the truth. There are millions of people out there going through hell just like you. Why do you think my book resonates with so many people? You think I'm unique? Nah, man, I'm just saying the shit that everyone else is too afraid to say. When I went to a publisher, they told me nobody's going to connect with your story, David. I looked them dead in the eye and said, are you even paying attention to the world? Everybody's fighting battles. The difference is most people are better at hiding their shit than you are. That's all it is. They're hiding better. You're not alone. You're just too busy playing the victim to see it. If you want to change, you've got to stop hiding from yourself. Own your shit. Start being honest with that voice in your head. It's not going to happen overnight, but every step forward is a win. And yeah, I celebrate those wins. You better believe I do. But celebrating doesn't mean resting. It means acknowledging how far you've come, then getting the fuck back to work. Every single day, man, I talk about this with my fiance. 2 hours today, we sat down and I said, we're grinding so fucking hard that we've lost sight of where the hell we are right now. It's podcast, interview, travel, this, that. It's nonstop. And I had to say, stop. Just fucking stop. It's just us doing this mom and pop thing, building it from the ground up. Look at where the fuck this book is right now. Look at how many people we're touching. Shut the fuck up for a second and just think. That's what we did. We stopped. And you know what? That's a massive evolution for me. Old Goggins, he wouldn't have done that. I'd have just kept grinding, head down, bulldozing forward. But now I know better. It's not about stopping the grind permanently. Hell no. It's about respecting what you've done. Taking a second. Not living in it. Not saying I'm good. Just hitting pause to acknowledge the vantage point you fought so fucking hard to reach. Here's the thing. When you stop to look around, it's not about getting comfortable. It's about getting that tactical advantage. Reset. Observe the field. Ask yourself, am I in the right spot? Am I aligned with where I need to be? Once you know you're good, then you get back to the fight, stronger and sharper. That's what we're doing right now. How did I get here? It's called finding peace. I never had peace until life forced me to slow the fuck down. When you're sick, when your body or mind breaks, you get clarity. And that clarity doesn't come from the noise. It comes from stopping even for a second and realizing where the hell you are. In the past, I didn't do that. I had this relentless grind, a schedule stacked to the ceiling. And yeah, I'm still grinding until I'm dead, but now I carve out time to stop at 12 o'clock or whenever the hell it is, reset, and look at the battlefield. Survey what you've done. Look at your wins. Because if you don't do that, you're fighting blind. Take my time in the military. After Ranger School, I came back as a top leader among 300 people. Did I stop to think, damn, Goggins, you've grown as a leader? Hell no. I just went right back into the fight, barking orders, pushing people like I was still trying to prove myself. But if I'd taken a second to step back, to process what I'd learned, I'd have led that second platoon differently. That's the tactical advantage. It's not just about learning. It's about applying what you've learned. When you climb the mountain, don't just plant your flag and move on. Stop at the top. Look down. Ask yourself, how would I have handled this 5 years ago? Then use that perspective to make damn sure you don't fuck it up again. That's how you grow. That's how you win. Yeah, so that whole thing didn't hit me during the heart surgeries. It came after, when my body was completely fucking broken. And I got into stretching. It was like my insides were a tangled up ball of knots. You ever see someone tie 100 knots into a rope and say, here, untangle this shit? That's what my body felt like inside. And it forced me to stop. I didn't have a choice anymore. Because let me tell you, I would have never stopped on my own. That's just who I was. But life doesn't give a fuck about your plans. Life said, all right, motherfucker, sit your ass down. You're benched. And my body did the same. It said, you've done good, but we're done. We're tapping out now. So yeah, I had the heart surgeries, came back into ultras, and I was out there crushing it again. And then bam, I hit a wall. Classic overtraining bullshit. My body had enough. I was training like a fucking animal, showing up at races, and I was just flat. No power, no fire, just done. I remember gaining weight overnight. My thyroid, my endocrine system, everything was shutting the fuck down. I'm surprised I lasted as long as I did before shit started breaking. My body was like, you pushed too fucking far. Now you're going to lay your ass down, hang up the shoes, and wait to die. And how long did that shit last? 5 years, 5 fucking years of being broken. It started around Badwater 2013. That race was a disaster. I walked 100 miles to finish it. I was crewing Dean that year. And I remember being right on his heels, walking my ass off. My body was cramping like crazy. My quads looked like aliens were crawling around inside them. I was hydrating, taking salt, doing everything, and nothing worked. My body just said, we're done. But then right after that, I had this brief moment where I felt like I was back. I crushed this race called Frozen Otter, and I thought, hell yeah, I'm back. But nah, that was just my body saying, all right, we'll give you one more before we shut this shit down for good. 2013 was when it really hit me hard. And from there, it was on and off over and over. My body kept breaking down, and I had to face it. I was in the fight of my life, and this time the enemy wasn't out there. It was in here. Getting told I had to stop was one of the hardest fucking things I've ever faced. But let me tell you something. It ended up being one of the most eye-opening, refreshing times of my life. It was like life was saying, all right, motherfucker, let's hit the reset button. And that's exactly what I did. When I couldn't run, couldn't work out, couldn't do the shit that made me who I thought I was, I had to dig deep and find another way to hit 100%. So I went back to school. I became a medic. I started figuring out new ways to push myself. I didn't sit around and cry about it. I reset. I rebuilt. I realized 100% isn't just about running or lifting or grinding. It's about finding something, whatever you've got left, and maxing that shit out. I'll be real with you. My whole fucking life got stripped away. 20 years in the military, my identity tied to being that guy who could outwork anyone. And suddenly I couldn't do shit. Couldn't run, couldn't lift. But I didn't lose my shit. All that mental training, all that suffering, it prepared me. I found peace. I found joy. I found fulfillment in the middle of a storm that could have broken me. But let me tell you something about peace. It doesn't make you soft. It doesn't make you weak. I didn't lose my edge. I sharpened it. See, for most of my life, I didn't even know what joy or gratitude felt like. I never had that shit. My dad beat the laughter out of me. I grew up scared, nervous, hiding, stuttering, hoping no one would notice me. Joy, gratitude, that shit wasn't in my vocabulary. Even when I changed my life, even when I became that guy, those scars were still there. But instead of letting them define me, I learned how to use them. I'm still scarred. That doesn't go away. But now I look at those scars and think, yeah, motherfucker, you've been through some shit, but you're still here. And that's where the real power comes from. People are always like, damn, man, why don't you ever smile? Why don't you do this or that? Look, motherfucker, this is my fucking life. I had to teach myself everything. How to read, how to write, how to smile, and how to say it's okay. Nobody gave me a fucking manual. And a lot of people don't get it. They ask, why don't you do this? Why don't you act like that? I don't judge people, plain and simple. That's not my job. You want to look smart. You want to act like you've got it all figured out. That's not me. If you want to know my story, read my book, but don't forget where I came from. I had to undo all the bullshit that shaped me. Nobody came down to show me how to be happy, how to find peace, or how to do any of this shit. I had to grind my way through the pain to figure it out. Man, suffering is where I found the greatest peace. The more you suffer, the more you reflect. And that's how you find real clarity. I came out of the dungeon of hell and I learned how to look back at all that shit and say, wow, if I die in this bed at 40 years old, I'm the happiest motherfucker alive because I did it. I pissed people off along the way. Some people don't like me. Merry fucking Christmas. I don't care. When I was young, I wanted to fit in so bad it hurt. I wanted people to like me and I swore I'd do whatever it took to be accepted. That's a fucking horrible place to be in life. You lose yourself chasing approval. You try to become someone else, a version of you that other people will accept. But that's not real joy. Real joy is looking at yourself and saying, this is me, flaws and all. I'm still working on my shit. I've got problems like everybody else, but take it or leave it, man. If you don't like me, take a number and get in line. Looking back, it's fucking crazy how every domino lined up perfectly to create the person I am today. But here's the thing. None of that shit matters if you don't take advantage of it. I didn't just sit back and let life happen. I leveraged every fucking opportunity to become the best version of myself. And I was scared as hell, man. I used to be afraid of damn near everything. But I found power in fear. I learned how to overcome it, how to control it, and now There's almost nothing I'm really afraid of because I know how to make that shit work for me. That's why I challenge people. Do a fucking live autopsy on your brain. Dig into your past, face your demons, and figure out who the hell you are. I talk about my childhood all the time for a reason. I don't want anyone slapping a title on me like, oh, he's just a freak. Because the moment you label me, you give yourself an excuse. You tell yourself, well, he's special. That's why he can do it. And I can't fuck that. That's the shit that pisses me off the most. People dying with untapped potential because they think someone else is better than them, born with better tools, or some other bullshit excuse. You don't need anything special. What you need is the ability to grind your ass into the ground over and over until you're nothing but dust. Then take that dust and build yourself back up again. That's what it takes. And for me, it's simple. I don't need fancy shit. I don't need some crazy gear. Give me a pair of running shoes and some shorts and I'm good to go. People always ask, what are you doing today? None of your fucking business. That's my time. That's my growth factor. I don't need to post about every step I take because this journey isn't about showing off. It's about digging deep and getting better. Yeah, I dropped some bombs here and there, but that's just me giving back. I'm still in the trenches, still learning, still grinding. I'm not fucking Yoda. I haven't figured it all out yet. But what I do know is this. You can do it too. Stop looking for reasons why you can't and start finding ways to grind. That's where the real power is. But the ultimate goal, you got to be able to hold yourself accountable. Those people won't always be there to hold your hand, man. You've got to become your own driving force, the one who pushes yourself when no one's looking. That's where the real strength is. When you don't need anyone else to tell you to get after it. I don't give a shit if you're 43 or 23. You've always got to set a new bar. Sure, maybe you can't go as hard as you did at 20, but there's a new standard you have to meet. Every damn day. If you let yourself coast, if you get comfortable, if you stop pushing, you're not good for anyone. Not yourself, not the world. You've got to keep grinding, keep reaching into that cookie jar and remind yourself who the fuck you are. I can still see it, feel it, smell it. Cobwebs, demons, dragons, all the creepy ass shit that lived there with me. But you know what? That's where my strength came from. That's where I became who the fuck I am. That dungeon built me. I never want to forget it because without that place, I wouldn't be here. Every week I talk to my fiance and I remind myself I can't lose who the fuck I am. Who I am is what I'm proud of. The hardworking, calloused hands, calloused mind motherfucker that I built. This guy didn't come out of nowhere. It took blood, sweat, tears, and a whole lot of pain. And yeah, some guidance from above too. A voice that kept me from hiding. That made me face myself no matter how much it fucking hurt. And you know what? The only way to lead, to set the example, is to always be willing to put in the fucking work. I don't follow people who talk about what they used to do. I don't give a shit about who you were. What are you doing now? You may not be at your peak anymore, but are you still grinding? Are you still pushing to be better? All I hear nowadays is people talking. So much fucking talk, not enough work. If you want to keep the bar high, you shut the fuck up, stop reminiscing, and get to work. That's the difference. That's how you stay dangerous. I hear people telling you how you should be living, what you should be doing, how you should be fucking doing it. And I look at them, fat, out of shape, looking like shit. But they're out here acting like they've got the answers. Fuck that. I'm not listening to you. There's too many people talking shit. And that's what pissed me off in the military. So much talk, but I didn't see the real suffering behind it, the real work behind the words. When I talk about my past, it's because that shit is real. It's a dark, fucked up place. Getting up in the morning when it's pouring rain, lacing up my shoes and going for a run, it fucking sucked, but I did it. That's the difference. What I see too often is people like Jake LaMotta at the end of Raging Bull, fat, drunk, staring in the mirror, living in the good old days. Guess what? There are no good old days. Those days are fucking gone. You can use your past for strength, but it's about where you're at right now. People come at me with excuses every day. I don't have time. You don't understand my life. Bullshit. What you don't have is priorities. You didn't put yourself first. We all have time. You just didn't wake the fuck up and decide to win today. You didn't decide to eat better, train harder, or push yourself past that comfort zone. Sometimes that means running 100 miles on broken feet. Whatever it takes, that's where the growth is. Man, take a fucking inventory of your day. Write it all down. I've done it. It's insane. You think you're efficient. Bullshit. You're wasting so much time you don't even realize it. Most of your day is spent on useless shit. Scrolling through your phone, liking pictures, tweeting, texting, watching dumbass videos. It's embarrassing how much time we burn on this crap, and then we cry about not having enough time. Wake the fuck up. Here's the thing. Take one day, just one, and write down every single thing you do. Be honest. When you see it on paper, you'll be floored by how much of your day is wasted on meaningless garbage. 7 hours gone, just like that. And you can't get that shit back. If it doesn't piss you off, it fucking should. Because when you add it up, you've got at least an hour every day to work on yourself. Don't tell me you don't. The problem isn't time. It's your willingness to do the hard shit. You don't want to get up early. You don't want to sacrifice your comfort. The question is simple. How bad do you want it? Do you actually want to change your life, or do you just like talking about it? Because this shit isn't fun. It's not supposed to be. It's miserable. Getting up early, working out in the snow, grinding when you don't feel like it. It fucking sucks. But that's the price. So are you willing to pay it, or are you going to keep wasting your life? We live in a soft-ass culture that tells you happiness comes from comfort, luxury, and taking the easy fucking road. That's the biggest lie you've been sold. You want peace with yourself. You want self-respect, self-esteem, and self-understanding. Then you better get ready to sacrifice, get uncomfortable, and redefine what normal even fucking means. But here's the problem. Nobody wants to wait. If they don't see results in 2 days or a week, they quit. That's the mentality out here. People aren't built to handle struggle anymore. We live in a world where you can Google anything you want in seconds, but when it comes to fixing your life, that shit doesn't work. Losing weight, quitting drinking, or overcoming your demons takes time. It takes patience. And guess what? You're going to hit plateaus. You'll fall on your ass over and over again. If you're not ready for that, you're not ready for change. Everybody's out here looking for the fucking hack. Let me tell you, there is no hack. There's no shortcut to building a better you. You got to earn it the hard way. You know the biggest stumbling block people face? It's that weak-ass woe is me mentality. Life's not fair. It's too hard. Stop that shit. You start looking around at other people. She's skinnier than me, and she doesn't even work out as hard. And you let that garbage corrupt your mind. You're so busy watching everyone else that you lose sight of your own race. Here's the truth. The only person you need to compete with is yourself. That's it. This isn't about anyone else. This isn't a sprint. It's a lifelong fucking grind. The sooner you realize that, the sooner you can focus on running your race on your terms. That's where the growth happens. Stay hard.